Welcome back to episode number 41 of the Brewbucks podcast. Alec, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing great because it is not raining today. This is the first time in 2 weeks it hasn't rained here. So it's a nice sunny day.
I'm sure many people have seen on the news that California is like a swamp altogether,
Yeah.
just flooding everywhere. So it is nice, I agree, to finally see some sun out there.
Yeah. I love seeing the river with water. It makes me happy for the summer.
You know what I also love is a great night's sleep.
Ooh.
Do you like sleep?
I do when I get it, but unfortunately I'm irresponsible and don't sleep as well as I should.
Well, I'm really excited today because we have an incredible guest. I can't tell you how awesome this interview is. Doesn't matter who you are, but especially if you are a parent, an entrepreneur, someone with an inconsistent schedule, someone who feels like they don't get enough sleep. We interviewed our friend Alanna, and it is an incredible episode all about how you can get better sleep. And I'm just still super fired up, super jazzed. And I think sleep is something that's so important that not enough people pay attention to and don't make a priority in their life. And so this is not really, I guess, an entrepreneur episode, but Alanna is an entrepreneur herself and shares a little bit of like her backstory about creating this company where she's helping people sleep better. So I thought it was a really cool bridge of being able to learn about sleep, which is important for everyone, as well as with that still that entrepreneurial spin to it. And that was a cool episode. So I'm excited to jump into that here in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But before that, question of the day.
Yep, let's hear it.
I guess it's question of the week, but that's okay. All right. Who we got today? We got Dan from Kentucky. I think this is a great question that a lot of people are going to learn. Hi, guys. So I'm recently married and we haven't combined our finances yet. What do you guys think there is a good time when we should combine finances, and how do you feel about that?
Okay, so when it comes to managing money as a married couple, there's three ways that you can do it. One, keep everything separate. Two, keep separate bank accounts and a joint account. And three, put everything together. Okay, there's different benefits to each of them, and we can kind of walk through them, I guess, a little bit. My least favorite option, keeping your finances completely separate. Okay, no joint account, no nothing. Just you spend your money, I spend my money. Does it prevent some arguments from happening? Absolutely. I don't know. Your wife wants to go get her nails done, and it's her money. She can do that, and it's no big deal. You want to go buy a video game? Okay, well, that's your money. She can't say anything about it. They're separate, right? So I think it creates a lot of times it prevents maybe some arguments about, oh, well, why are you spending all this money on this thing, or why are you spending money over here? But the biggest drawback is that you're not working as a team, and you're not doing things together. You're not working towards some common goal, right? And Stevie, my wife, she goes and gets her nails done. I don't care, because again, it's part of our budget, right? There's things, it's conversations that we have up front, and we include it in our plan so that it's not an argument. I think sometimes people think like, oh, well, it's everything's going to turn into an argument if we combine everything, and it's really not the case. So again, biggest drawback of keeping your finances separate is you're not goal setting together. You're not working as a team. The second way, where you have a joint account and you're both contributing to it, I think this can be a really successful way, but it still takes a lot of intention and a lot of good conversations about, hey, how much are we contributing each to this joint account? Is it hey, we're this just joint account is just for bills and we're still spending kind of carelessly on everything else? Or is it a joint account that's also, hey, this is for for our early retirement goals, this is for saving for a house, maybe this is saving up for I don't know, or investing in real estate or something along those lines, right? Okay, cool. Well, at least we're having some of those like goal setting conversations where we're funneling stuff towards goals and having conversations, kind of working as a team, right? And again, that's the goal. You should be working as a team with your spouse. The third way, which is throwing everything into the same pot, is where I think the most amount of teamwork happens, and that's where like you have to be really intentional about having the upfront conversations, because again, it's like for us, me and my wife, like I make 3 times the amount that she does, but I'm not gonna. It doesn't mean that I get to spend 3 times the amount of money, and she doesn't get to. It's our money together as a team. We're gonna pay for everything out of it, and that's okay if she wants again to go get her nails done or buy a new bathing suit or whatever. That's part of the budget. And that's why I think, especially when you have combined, one combined account that everything goes into. Having those conversations at the beginning of every month of, hey, you've got, $500 of money where you can just spend it on whatever, no questions asked. I have the same amount. These are our goals and where we want to go. And then these are our bills, things we got to pay. And you have that nice fluid conversation of just setting your goals together at the beginning of every month and trying your hardest to stick to it is where couples see the most amount of success and the quickest amount of success. And I can tell you all of this because I've tried all the different ways, and I was putting it all together the hardest. I think a little bit, but it took some time, but overall the amount of progress that we've made on our goals is exponential compared to when we were just keeping things separate. And it kind of came down to one day where Stevie had some big bill or like something came up that she had to pay and was stressing out about it. And I was like, fuck, like I feel like a terrible husband right now that my wife, I have, 3 times the amount of money that I'm making every month sitting over here. And my wife is stressing about how she's going to pay a bill. And it's like, why are we doing it like this? This doesn't make any fucking sense. And so from that day forward, it was like, nope, we're not doing this. We're putting it all together and we're going to work as a team. And it has been so much better ever since. So
I think that's a great answer.
I know that was kind of long-winded, but it's something that I don't know. A topic I'm pretty passionate about because I don't know. It's the benefits of doing it together and working as a team is what makes couples successful.
Yeah.
So
I mean, money and lack of communication is one of the leading causes of divorce. So if you can communicate about money, it's probably going to help you in the long term in your relationship.
totally. And people who can keep everything completely separate and don't talk about money and just avoid the conversation altogether, eventually it just turns into this atomic bomb that blows up one day, right? And so, yep. So thank you for the question. I hope that helps some people out and provide some kind of insight. So, but enough about that. I think it's time we jump into our interview. So here is an incredible episode all about sleep with our friend Alanna. As you know, Alec, many of our listeners have aspirations of investing in real estate, but sometimes it can be difficult and overwhelming to get started.
Well, luckily there's Fundrise. Fundrise is a great option for people looking to dip their toes into real estate.
Fundrise's mission is to use technology to make high-quality real estate investments available to everyone at a low cost. With as little as $10, you can own a small piece of actual physical property.
What a deal. And if you want to join thousands of other people who are making money through real estate, click the link in the show notes and get started with Fundrise today.
Alanna, officially welcome to the Brew Bucks podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your expertise with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on because you have Jake, who is a part of the 5 a.m. club. He's great at waking up at 5 a.m. And then you have me, who I like to sleep in, stay in bed till 9 or 10 sometimes. So I think you got the best of both worlds right here.
I love that. I love it. The 5 a.m. club, that's a tough one to join, but it definitely has its benefits.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure we'll jump into it in a little bit here. So as you might know, Alanna, we're going to start off each show by talking about what type of brew we will be sipping on. Whether it's a nice cup of coffee or a nice cold beer, there's something different about having a conversation with the drink in your hand. Our goal is to be able to provide some interviews and conversations with awesome guests while not taking ourselves too seriously, and most importantly, having some fun along the way. So this is generally where Alec comes up with some type of terrible joke. So do we have one today?
Well, it's more of a discovery that scientists did. Scientists finally found the perfect amount of sleep a human needs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just 5 minutes more. Oh, it's
like
terrible. All right, so what am I sipping on today? Today I'm sipping on a beer from Almanac, and I believe Jake also has an Almanac.
Almanac episode.
Shout out to Almanac. They are located in Alameda, California, and this one is called Love Hazy IPA. It is like a little sweater, if you can see.
It's an ugly Christmas sweater.
Yep, ugly Christmas sweater, exactly. And it claims as a lush, tropical, juicy, and it's a hazy IPA dry hop with Sabro, Citra, and Mosaic hops. So let's give it a try.
I think that's a normal beer that they have, but they made it like Christmas decorative for the season. I guess these are a little old, huh?
Don't tell anybody. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's very light for an IPA. It's definitely got those tropical, juicy notes, almost like tangerine flavors to it and stuff. Not overly hoppy, not very bitter at all. Pretty smooth tasting though. But I like it. It's really good.
Cool. Well, I am also drinking, looks like to be some type of winter almanac beer. It's called Bunny Hill IPA, which is kind of cool. It is also a hazy IPA, dry hopped with cashmere and Simcoe. 6.1% canned on 11/8, November 8th. Yeah. Reading the side of the can here, it says, "Baby, it's hella cold outside," which is funny. That's so NorCal. Bunny Hill Hazy IPA has a pillowy, soft mouthfeel like a freshly fallen snow. This liquid snowflake is dry hopped with an avalanche of cashmere and Simcoe, creating notes of citrus, zest, and ripe melon. So,
Sounds
pretty
tasty.
I definitely get the ripe melon. And I agree with the mouthfeel. It tastes like you're drinking some snow. So I like
Hella
almanac.
cold
I
out.
got good stuff. Yeah. Alana, what you got today?
My drink is I just got a cup of coffee, guys. That's it. I got a cup of coffee in my This Girl Loves Sleep mug. That's the name of my podcast. Yeah, it's my little 2 p.m. shot of energy for the day.
You
Right?
got cream and sugar in there. You drink it black. How you like it?
I am a 2 sugar, some oat milk, and a scoop of collagen kind of girl.
Ooh,
Ah,
collagen.
okay.
Yeah.
I dig it. I've been getting into that oat milk train. I think like the older I get, the more and more that milk starts to hurt my stomach. But oat milk has just been a great substitute for my coffee lately.
It's also kind of weird that humans drink another creature's milk in some ways. So
Yeah, I've been avoiding milk for a while now. And I don't know, I'll be honest, I don't know if I actually feel a difference, but I've been on the oat milk train probably for about a year now. And when I put milk in it, it's got a different taste to it now. I
Yeah.
can like, yeah.
Totally. Well, cheers, guys.
yeah, cheers.
Thanks again, Alana. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's kick this thing off. So, I guess we really kind of like to start off every interview by getting to know our guests a little bit better. Where'd you grow up? What was early life like for you?
So I'm in Toronto. I'm in Toronto, Canada. Was actually born in Montreal, but I've been in Toronto since 9 years old. So pretty much grew up here. My childhood was pretty normal. Older sister, 2 parents, raised well. And yeah, I wish I had exciting stories to tell you, but I really don't. I mean, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to run my own business. If I would have known that it was going to be under, doing sleep coaching and with the focus on sleep, I would have told you that you're crazy, because why would anyone need help with that? We all sleep. But I always knew my dad was an entrepreneur. My mom stayed home with the kids, but in her own way was her own entrepreneur, ran a home daycare up until, my sister and I started having kids, and then stopped then. So I've always been around, not the typical 9 to 5 type thing. And just always knew it was something that I wanted to do myself. So thankfully found something that I was pretty, I hate using the word passionate about, because don't we all use that word? I'm passionate about what I do. I wish there was another way to explain it, but something that I really enjoy doing. So, as cliche as it sounds, it doesn't feel like work. So yeah.
That's the goal. I think kind of a fun question that we kind of like to talk about with entrepreneurs is like, did you ever have, I guess, any like of those things when you were young where you're like, oh, I'm kind of feeling like this is the path that I'm going down, whether it's like lemonade stands or mowing lawns, or I don't know, for me, it was like detailing cars, or like, did you ever kind of have any of those childhood experiences where like, man, this is cool, like working for myself and making money on my own?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I had like the most absurd. I always say, like, I never, to go from like point A to point B, I never just take that straight line ever. Like, I've given my parents so many gray hairs because of it. So, I will be, yeah, I mean, I've done my own kind of things, but if I told you some of the jobs that I've had in the past, like, they're so kind of all over the place. Like, there was never any one pinpointed direction. But always what I wanted to do, always things that I enjoyed that were part of my life. So whether it be music, whether it be fashion, whether it be, running my own thing, and then got into the sleep thing. So I've always just been kind of like, hey, this is what I want to do, therefore this is what I'm going to do. Not necessarily this is what I should do, but this is what I'm going to do. And let's hope it works out.
Gotcha.
And it did.
Yeah, sounds like it is. So I mean, did you go into higher education, or if not, what alternative path did you take?
I did. I actually took a 2-year gap year between high school and college university. We call it gap year in Canada. I don't know if you guys
Yeah, we call it
It's
that here
actually
too.
deemed a gap year. Yeah. Not by choice. I actually wanted to get into broadcasting, didn't get into the school that I wanted to get into or wound up on the wait list. So decided just to work for a few years. And then ended up going to college for sales and marketing, graduated with that. And was actually really thankful that I started when I did, because seeing, I don't know what age you guys are in like, we're like 17. I think you guys are similar when you're done high school and going off
Yeah.
to me, that's just
17 or
young.
18.
Yeah. So I was happy for those 2 years of work experience before going into higher education, because I saw the difference of how well I was kind of adapting to everything versus kids who are just coming out of high school. Not to say it's for everybody, but now that I have, my daughter's 15 and entering that world in a few years, a gap year might come into conversation if I feel like she's not fully prepared and directed on where she wants to go, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
Yeah.
feel like a gap year gets so much like negativity around it when it's like you're expecting 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds to make these crazy life decisions
Yeah.
straight out of high school. And it's like, why not take some time to figure out what it is that you actually truly want to do? I know we hate the word passionate, but something you are
Yeah.
really passionate about. Because I think that's so beneficial. So that's cool.
Yeah,
Provided it's structured, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not going to say just take a year off and, lie on the couch and watch soap operas all day. Like, it's
Yeah.
got to be a
Totally.
structured gap year. Yeah. You got to work. You got to
I
be
think
working.
a lot
Gap
of
with
people
intention.
a lot of people like traveling during that gap year, which I think is the best thing to do. Go discover different parts of
Biggest
the world that you haven't
regret that I
seen.
didn't do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
Well, good job for going back too, because I know a lot of people that take that gap year then never go back. So
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you're saying, having it structured.
Yeah.
It's an important element for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about it pre-show, but how did you become so passionate about sleep, and when did you decide that you wanted to help others sleep better and prioritize sleep in their life?
Well, I think when I first started the business, it was primarily geared towards helping parents. So working with babies and toddlers. And I was in that stage for so long, right? So there was a real, a big satisfaction in helping families and seeing the end result and really seeing where they started from and the struggles that they were having. I mean, when we're not sleeping and you're also dealing with babies and children, there's such it affects you physically, emotionally, mentally, in a big way. So to see parents come on the other side of that, especially moms, being a mom myself with young kids at the time, seeing them come on the other side of that, there was, it's a very, I always say it's a very satisfying job. It really is. And then growing the business, I love the sleep side of it, but I also really love the business side of it. Like, I really love the growing the business and adding different divisions and just every year adding more and more goals. Like that is just big for me. Like, I love that side of it. So being able to see the business every year have that growth and different, adding the adult sleep and the corporate sleep and seeing the difference that makes in people's lives. It's just such a great gig. It's just great. Yeah.
Yeah. So the passion was kind of born from you kind of struggling to get sleep with your young children at the time. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, just knowing that there was a need for it, there was a huge need for it, that industry, and that's why it's such a fast growing industry. Yeah, it really stemmed from that.
Cool.
So I guess what exactly is it you do? I mean, I know you're like a sleep coach and all this stuff. So what does that exactly entail? You go to people's houses and watch them sleep, or what do you do?
So when we're working with the littles, so if we're working with babies or children, we don't do overnights, but it's all basically done online. So it's a 2-week program. Families hire us for 2 weeks, and we work with them on creating a sleep training. Do you guys have kids?
Not yet, but soon.
Okay. So you'll know when you're in it. So those listening that do have kids understand, putting together a good routine, a great environment, working on, helping babies and kids sleep through the night. So we work with the 2-week program with them and follow them throughout the 2 weeks and support them. When I'm working with adults, our tweens, teens, and our adults and our corporates are largely done through webinar, seminar based. So companies are hiring us, like their wellness committees or their HR committees are hiring us to put on like lunch and learn. So going over, proper steps of sleep hygiene, how to manage stress. Stress is a huge component that's going to be flowing into Good Night Sleep Site over the next few years, just because there's such a correlation between sleeping well and managing stress, and our stress is at an all-time high right now. And then working with adults, it's really just on a coach basis. So I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a therapist. So I'm not a sleep therapist, but I can kind of sense any red flags if they need to be directed to their doctor. We work with, again, coaching them through proper sleep hygiene, proper mindset, so quieting the mind and things like that, and through different program durations.
Cool.
So when you say red flags, what do you mean? Like some kind of red flags that you notice that kids or adults have?
Is it like eating too late or?
No.
Well, a red flag would be something like looking for if there's any kind of actual sleep disorder that's happening, primarily something like sleep apnea, right?
Okay.
So if an adult is coming to me and saying, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but I'm really, I'm waking up exhausted. My partner beside me is telling me that I'm snoring or actually stopping breathing while I'm sleeping. I'm having excessive daytime sleepiness, like not just, normal low energy fatigue during the day that we all can experience, but I'm talking like falling asleep at red lights or sitting in meetings.
Oh, wow.
That to me is a sign that there's a bigger issue going on. So yes, you feel like you're getting your 7 to 8 hours, but you're not getting the right quality of sleep. And why is that? So then that would be where I would direct them to their family doctor, who would then direct them to have a sleep study done at a sleep lab or clinic, which I'm sure is the same in Canada and the States, to see if there is a sleep apnea diagnosis. Sleep apnea is one of the leading sleep disorders. I would say it doesn't discriminate. Many of us think sleep apnea affects, overweight men. It could be men, women, children, all shapes and sizes. So it's something to that's where what I mean about those red flags. So, okay, what exactly is going on? Is this a bigger issue than just simple coaching can get you through?
Got it.
Okay, interesting. I like that. So I guess we get a lot of entrepreneurs on this podcast, and I think a lot of times we don't discuss sleep as much as we should. So there's obviously the whole hustle culture when it comes to sleep. Do you think a lot of times when that hustle culture is coming into play and they're like staying up till 5 a.m., they're working their bone off? I mean, what kind of, I guess what I'm trying to ask right now.
do you think it's causing more harm than it is good?
Exactly.
Yeah. I always laugh at that because I'm often asked that question because, because I am an entrepreneur, I've had other talks about the entrepreneur life. And I always say the irony is never lost on me, the amount of sleep that I lost growing a sleep business. Because, it happens, right? Especially with little kids, you got to work during nap time and when they go to bed. I mean, now that my kids are older and they're at school every day and I can have a normal actual work day. But yeah, I mean, I lost a lot of sleep growing this business too. I think it's really important that a lot of my talks now to businesses and to individuals is really focusing on that hustle culture and focusing on the fact that we are all so burnt out. And someone mentioned the other day, mentioned the word frayed to me. And I thought that that's a word that really stuck, is we're just feeling so frayed, like just everything that's been thrown at us, definitely over the past 3 years, especially 4 years now. We're all feeling it, so I think it's the most important thing that we can do is focusing on two things that I put a huge focus on right now that any entrepreneur can do for sleep is, one, stress management is huge. So what are we doing throughout the day? So much of what we do throughout the day can actually help us sleep better. And part of that is managing our stress levels. And that's really setting boundaries. And I mean, I can get into more detail about that for sure. But another part of it is really protecting our sleep space. So, because so many of us over the past few years have been working more from home, whether forced or now chosen, because many of us are still choosing to work remotely, our bedroom is kind of becoming the room in which we're doing everything but sleeping, especially for entrepreneurs. I mean, I know I'm one of them, right? So you're bringing work into the bedroom, you're, whether it's your phone, whether it's your computer, it's the last thing that you're checking before you're going to bed, sending out that last email, working on that project, getting everything you got to do. And we're weakening the association between sleep and our bedroom. And it's so important to really have that strong association. You want to walk into your bedroom and feel that instant calmness and serenity and ready to just sleep. But because our bedrooms are becoming our home office and our kids' classroom and our home gym and our entertainment center, we're weakening that association. And that's a big issue. It's proper sleep, or a proper sleep environment is one of the steps of sleep hygiene. And I would say probably in the past 3 years, that one step has really weakened and is so critical to how well or not well you're sleeping throughout the night.
I love a bunch of the things you just said there. real quickly before that, could you dissect sleep hygiene a little bit more? Obviously, you just touched on, one of the big items of sleep hygiene, but what is it? I guess a little bit deeper.
Take a shower and go to
Yeah.
bed. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, and that's what you think, right? In terms of the word hygiene, but sleep hygiene are really just the steps and practices that you can do to help you sleep better. So, for instance, following consistent sleep patterns. So trying to go to bed at the same time every night, waking up at the same time every morning, having a great bedtime routine, promoting a great sleep environment, watching what you're eating, how much you're drinking before you're going to bed. So, all of these things are just really comes down to lifestyle changes. It's changing habits at the end of the day, right? When you're putting your sleep plan together, that includes some of those steps of sleep hygiene. I mentioned probably for me some of the most important ones: having those consistent sleep patterns, having a great sleep environment, incorporating a great bedtime routine. We do it for our kids, but we need to be doing it for ourselves too. Obviously watching what you're eating right before you're going to bed. We always want our body to really focus on sleeping well, not busy on digesting food and digesting alcohol and fluctuating with temperature. So again, coming back to that environment, making sure we're sleeping in that cooler environment type thing. I don't remember what I was saying before that, but it's when putting that plan together with those steps, it's the same as a workout plan. It's the same as a meal plan. We can't unfortunately go to the gym once and get the body we want, right? Or eat well one night and drop all that weight that we want to drop. We have to be consistent with it and we have to commit to it. And a sleep plan is no different. You can't just turn off tech one night or go to bed earlier one night and expect to get a great night of sleep if you've been struggling with sleep long term. So that is sleep hygiene. That's kind of a long explanation of it.
Got it. So do you think, I guess people should try and get to a place where they're using their bedroom only for sleep? Like, hey, if you're in the bedroom, like the only thing I'm doing in here is sleep. And I guess you kind of touched on like screen time too. Do you think there's like a certain amount of time that before bed people should turn off the screen? I know I'm a victim of just like falling asleep with the TV on, or I don't know, sending out some, last minute tweets or something like that before bed. What are some of those effects that maybe screen time has on your sleep as well?
So in terms of using the bedroom for sleep, yes, you really want to, really protect your sleep space for sleep only. And I always say customize your side of the bed to you. So whether you sleep alone, whether you sleep with another person, your side of the bed should be what your sleep needs need. So that might mean a different blanket. That might mean a different pillow. That might mean different PJs. What's on your night table versus what's on your partner's night table. Like, it's okay to do that. So really protecting that sleep space. In terms of tech, I'm going to be honest, my tune on that has changed a little bit. And what I mean by that is, Alanna maybe 2 years ago would have said, remove all tech from the bedroom. There should be nothing in your bedroom. Give yourself an hour tech curfew before you go to bed, 90 minutes if you can do it. Now, I still stand true to that for those who are really struggling with sleep and who honestly think that tech is being a sleep buster, is being a sleep disruptor. I think the best thing you can do is just remove it completely from your bedroom. Phones, TVs, all of it, and give yourself that tech curfew, because tech affects us in a few different ways. One is the brightness of the screen. So if we look at our brain, think of your brain as having that sleep switch. When a lot of people will say, as you just did, I fall asleep to the TV, or Alanna, I can fall asleep great to the TV. What's the big deal? Yes, you're falling asleep, but that bright screen is turning that sleep switch off in your brain. So you might be sleeping, but you're not getting the best quality, the best restorative sleep that you could be getting. So it's not just about the hours of sleep we're getting, it's also about what kind of sleep we're getting. So I always liken it to like it's junk sleep. Like you'd be eating junk food. Yes, you're eating food, but it's junk food. It's not the best nutritional food you could be eating, right? The other way that tech can disrupt our sleep is, what are we absorbing right before we go to bed? Coming back to stress management, right? So what are we watching on TV? Is that heightening any stress or anxiety we're already feeling in our life? What are we reading on Twitter? Like the fact that you go on Twitter right before you go to bed. I mean, that is just like a cesspool of stress right now. Yeah, so that's like the one thing I would say, avoid that before you go to bed. But no, I mean, listen, Twitter is Twitter, right? But anything like that, right? The news, some people are, the news, like there's nothing good coming out of the news right now. So maybe don't read the headlines right before you go to bed. So set those boundaries around what tech you're allowing in. So in going back to what I said about the old Alanna was saying, remove it, I also understand the joy of those evening hours when, let's say you have kids are finally in bed, you don't have kids, work is done, the kitchen's cleaned, no, I have no more responsibilities other than just what I want to do, which I can't do during the day, right? So please don't tell me to not watch my favorite show, not maybe text with my friend, not get lost in TikTok, because that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? So I always felt really bad telling people not to do that, but set boundaries on what you're doing. If there's social media accounts that don't make you feel good, don't follow them right before you go to bed. If Twitter's going to amp you up, stay off of that right before you go to bed. Watch a show that's going to make you feel good. Don't watch the entire season until 2:00 in the morning. But if there's a show, like my go-tos are like Friends or The Office. That's just my happy feely show. It's going to make me feel good. It's not going to, heighten anything that I might already be feeling. So set boundaries around the tech that you're allowing in. But if you honestly feel like tech is the last thing you're looking at and it's the first thing you're looking at in the morning, get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Get it out of the bedroom.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing you brought up too, is I think most of this generation just wakes up and the first thing they do when they wake up is grab their phone and look at it. I mean, that's gotta, I don't know. I don't really know what it does to the eyes and stuff. I imagine it can't be good. The first thing your eyes doing waking up and looking at this bright screen, it's gotta just do something to you.
I think it just amps you up too,
It does. It just, that's one rule that I stand by is I don't check my phone at least 30 minutes until after I wake up. In that 30 minutes, maybe I'll have a cup of coffee, maybe I'll have a workout, I'll get my kids ready for school, but I don't, because the second I check in my phone, what am I checking? I'm checking my work emails and I'm logging into social media. That's it, right? So all of a sudden that chaos of all of it is just, it's in your brain and it floods your mind and that stays with you. So much of what you do in the morning affects how well you're going to fall asleep that night. And that chaos stays with you. So if I can leave you with any tool, focus on your morning routine and really try not to check your phone or log into any kind of outside tech until give yourself 30 minutes. It's not that much.
I dig it. Is there like a proper amount of time that people should stop eating before bed? Like, have you found like 2 hours is good enough, or is there kind of a guideline for that?
You want to at least 4 hours before you go to bed, not have any big meals. Yeah,
Okay.
because you want your body to, like I said, digest its food. So meaning like a dinner meal, like a big meal, right? If you're having a little bedtime snack, that's a different thing. But any kind of big meal, I would say at least 4 hours to allow your body enough time to properly digest before you go to bed.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I was thinking like, I don't know, sometimes we eat dinner at like 7 and go to sleep at 9. I'm like, oh, that's probably enough time, right? But that makes sense. I think 4 hours is probably definitely more of what it needs. So what are the different stages of sleep quickly, I guess? And like, I know there's deep sleep, there's light sleep, there's REM sleep, and we kind of need a mix of all of it, right? I kind of like I liked how you're talking about, sometimes you might be asleep, but maybe you're not getting all of the right amount of those different types of sleep. So what are they? And I guess a quick overview of them.
So when you look at sleep cycle, it's what we call the sleep architect. So it's what kind of cycles of sleep and how many are in one cycle of sleep. So typical amount of cycle of sleep for an adult is anywhere between 90 to 110 minutes. And we have about 5 or 6 cycles of those throughout the night for a full night of sleep. Within each cycle, we have different phases of sleep. So, or different stages. So, and it basically goes from stage 1 to stage 4. It used to be 5, but now they've kind of combined 4 and 5 together. So it's about 1 to 4 stages. The third stage and fourth stage is when we're getting into those deeper states of sleep. So, the first state of sleep is when you're kind of falling asleep. You're kind of aware of what's still going on, but you're getting in there. The second stage, you're in that lighter state of sleep. That typically is within the first, I would say, 20 to 30 minutes of a cycle of sleep. The rest of that cycle going up to the 90 minutes, you're in that deeper state of sleep. And as the night progresses, as the cycles progress, we're getting more and more deeper. We're getting longer periods of deeper states of sleep, which is why we want to focus on getting the right quantity of sleep, right? Because that's going to allow you to get more deeper restorative sleep throughout the night. So without getting like scientific, that's kind of the stages of sleep per cycle. Cool. Yeah,
that's perfect. I dig it. So I guess let's transition a little bit. I think besides entrepreneurs, like I guess the next largest people that seem to struggle with sleep are parents, especially new parents. So what advice do you have for new parents, and how do they keep sleep a priority with a new child?
Well, I mean, I always say, listen, you're not going to be sleeping well until your child's sleeping well. So if you are trying to focus on your own sleep and you have little kids who are not sleeping, it's best to start with them
Okay.
before focusing on your own sleep, for sure. And that's really depending on the age of the child. I mean, if we're talking about babies, we don't really start putting formal sleep training plans until babies at least 4 to 6 months of age. Prior to that, what we call the fourth trimester is 0 to 4 months. Newborns are going to wake up, they're going to need feeds throughout the night. All of those things are common and normal, and unfortunately, affects parents' sleep, but it's a normal occurrence. And as baby gets older, we can put more of a consistent plan together where we're focusing on a more set schedule and working on weaning out feeds and associations and things like that. For older kiddos, for our toddlers, for our tweens, for our teens, a lot of the rules still apply, focusing on consistency and routines and bedtimes. Focusing on, for our toddlers, really setting those limits on making sure they're not controlling the evenings and the parents are controlling more of the evenings, not in a dominating punishment kind of way, but really taking that control back. If that control, I always tell toddler parents, if anyone's listening, who's training who. And it's never the parents training the toddler. It's always the toddler training the parents, right? That's why they contact us. So putting that sleep plan together for them. A big rise that we've seen in the past, I would say 3 years, would be sleep struggles with tweens and teens. So we're talking anywhere from the 8 years of age up to 17, 18 years. I think tech plays a huge role in that. While I have been more lax with adult tech, meaning, you know what you need, set those boundaries if you need to. As parents, I think it's so important that we're setting those boundaries for it. We can't expect our teens and tweens to set the boundaries for themselves. We really need to remove tech from their bedrooms. It's so important. I'm seeing so much lost sleep because that's their world. Their whole world is staying connected 24/7 if we let them. So it's really important for parents and their kids to sit down together and put a plan together that everyone feels they can follow.
I think you're absolutely right on taking tech away from the kids because they don't set boundaries. I mean, I didn't have an iPhone when I was growing up, but I had a Game Boy, and I remember hiding under the covers at night playing my Game Boy, not wanting to sleep. And my parents thought I was in bed, but I wasn't.
Alex.
So yeah, oh, I know, right?
Yeah,
I mean, quick.
Yeah. With my daughters, like I said, she's 15. My youngest are going to be 12 in March. So she's had her phone for a few years now, and they're slowly entering the phone world in a little bit. I'm trying to hold off as long as I can. But we model it at our house. There's no tech in the bedrooms, and they can have their tech in their bedrooms during the evening hours, but when they go to bed, it's out. And it's just important to have those conversations so that they understand, why. Yeah, I could have a whole podcast episode just on that.
I love it. So how do I guess I don't think it's easy taking a phone away from like any kid or technology away from any kid. So like how do we help some of these, again, like maybe young adults, see the value of sleep and see the value of taking like technology out of the room and maybe out of their nightlife?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing you can do is start from the beginning. So, if you're just introducing tech into your child's world, start it right from the start so they don't know any better, because it is harder to take it away once they've had it, right? But it's not impossible. So starting off with what I call like a family sleep meeting. So sitting down and talking about the importance of sleep. We talk so much about the importance of everything else, treating others with kindness, eating well, moving our bodies, which are all so important and should of course be discussed. But instead of just telling your child, you need to sleep, you need to go to bed, why do you need to sleep? How does sleep affect our bodies? How do you feel when you've had a really good night of sleep? How do mom or dad feel when they've had a really good night of sleep? How does sleep affect our overall health? And I think more conversations like that are starting to happen. Maybe it's just in my house because it's what we talk about, but my kids understand the importance of sleep and why it's so important to sleep well. And, it's funny, they'll come to me now with their friends, and my daughter said the other day, her best friend, so-and-so wants to know, like, what time should she be going to bed at? We're just like starting to have these kind of conversations. So I think it's just important to have those conversations, but then you got to model it too. You can't be telling your teen, you can't have your phone in your room, but then they're seeing you bring in your phone. And listen, parents argue with me, well, I'm the parent, I can do what I want because I do. It doesn't, I get that. But it's like if it's a real struggle and you're really having that battle, model it, show them that you're also taking those steps to better your own sleep health and you're doing it together as a family. So it's not just on them to do.
Oh, totally. I dig that.
So, I mean, why we're kind of talking about technology and some of the ups and downs it has on our sleep. One thing that always intrigues me is I know some people that can't sleep without like a fan noise, and they have the app on their phone and it just plays the fan all night for them. What is your opinion on that? And is that actually like a healthy way to go about it? Because my niece right now, she's 2, and my sister already has her listen to the fan to help sleep, and I'm just wondering how that's going to act long term.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech that's bad, but there's also a lot of tech that can help you sleep well. With our little kids, focusing on, it's like the fan acts as like that white noise sound, right? So that sound spot, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a fan sound. Some kids need like the rainfall and the waterfall. All of these, I think, are great tools to teach those independent sleep skills. They're easy to wean out, so it doesn't mean she's going to need a fan for the rest of her life. That being said, there's a lot of adults who do need consistent noise to sleep well, right? So things like even tech, like things like apps, like meditation apps and mindful breathing apps, and some for tweens and teens, I'm always recommending like audiobooks, storybooks that they can just kind of listen to. All of that tech can really help. So with our littles, something like a fan or a sound machine or a sound spa is something that we encourage, just to teach them those independent sleep skills. Once they're doing well, then you can slowly start weaning it out if you want to. If a fan isn't a big deal, she can continue using it.
Cool. I dig it. Is there a proper amount of sleep that people should be achieving? I know it's or at least I've heard that it's supposed to kind of change a little bit like as you age. Is there kind of a bracket of how many hours you should be getting based off of, like, I don't know, your age in life?
Just 5 minutes
Yeah. Yeah, 5 minutes more. For adults, you'll hear the 7 to 8 hours on average is what you should be getting. There's so many scientific studies that are coming out now that are saying that's not necessarily the case. So it's hard for me to give you like, this is the amount that you need to sleep, because again, we all sleep differently. You guys were saying at the beginning, you're more of an early morning waker, you're more of a sleeping in. So there's something to be said about being a lark or being more of an owl, right? So I would say if you're aiming for anywhere between 6 to 9 hours for adults a night, that's a good goal. Anything less than 6, if you're like, I can function fine on 4 hours a night, I can function fine on 5 hours a night, you probably can, because that's just now what your body's used to getting, but it's probably not what your body needs. So I would say, at least aim for 6 if you're that person.
Cool.
I think I average 6 to 7, which I'm always content with. So
yeah, okay. Same with me, to be honest. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the size of a mattress? This is something I didn't think about until recently, but my wife and I have always slept on a queen size bed until recently we got a king size bed, and I can tell you, we don't cuddle nearly as much, but I sleep so much better without feeling her constantly moving throughout the night. So have you seen any benefits off of the size of one's mattress?
That all comes down to personal, right?
Yeah.
So it's what works for you. I mean, yes, I'm a firm believer in bigger the better for mattress, for sure. So I'm all about a king if you can fit it in, if you can fit it in your bedroom. But there's probably some people that, enjoy the closeness too. So, it's hard for me to be like, this is the best size to use. But yeah, like I'm a king sleeper too, for sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was any evidence to like back that up.
I think it depends too. I mean, my girlfriend loves just middle of the night turn at an angle, and then I'm like, "Are you kidding?" And then I'm way off to the side, and we have a queen bed too. I really want to get a king because it drives me nuts. But going way back to what you're talking, where I think each person needs to kind of find what they're comfortable with. For years, we would share the same blanket, and now we sleep with separate blankets, and I think that helps so much, because she would roll over and then just steal my blanket in the middle of the night, and I would wake up because of that. And now there's no more stealing of the blankets, and I'm sleeping way better now.
I thought you were gonna say we learned, and now I sleep on the couch.
Well, I mean, you laugh. I mean, more and more couples are choosing to sleep in separate bedrooms.
Oh, yeah.
And not because, there's problems in relationships or marriages, just because they want to have a good night of sleep. There was a national home in the US, actually, a National Home Builders Association survey that was done, I think in 2015 or 2016, that forecasted that 60% of new homes were going to be built with 2 primary bedrooms.
Wow.
So, there's something to be said about a separate blanket is probably the easiest thing to do. And I encourage that. There's no reason why you need to use the same blanket if you're sharing a bed, if it doesn't work for you. But more and more couples are choosing to sleep in separate bedrooms just because they want to get a good night of sleep.
Yeah. I mean, if you snore really loudly and your significant other doesn't,
That's
sometimes
it.
they want the
Oh
quietness
yeah,
and get
that
on the roof.
game over. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's it.
Cool. So I guess next up, I want to talk about naps a little bit. So, what naps are good.
I love
like
naps. That's why I'm laughing.
Okay.
'cause-
So I'm a big nap taker. I guess are naps good for you? If not, why? And if yes, like what are some of the benefits and why do they affect some people differently? Like I can take a nap and wake up feeling like ready to run through a brick wall, but my wife takes a nap and it's like gonna take 4 more hours for her to wake up.
Yeah, I like that you pointed that out, and I'll explain probably why that is. So, in terms of should I or shouldn't I take a nap, I always say if you are someone who has a pretty good relationship with sleep, probably knows I probably need to work on it a little bit, but for the most part, I sleep well and just feel like taking a nap every now and then, it's not an issue. If you are someone though who is really struggling with sleep, has chronic insomnia, has not slept well for weeks, months, even years, you want to avoid taking naps. And I know those are the people that you would think would really need it because they need that extra sleep. But again, coming back to what happens in the morning, we all wake up with our sleep tank on empty, no matter how well or not well we slept throughout the night. For the most part, our sleep tank's empty in the morning. And our goal throughout the day is to fill that tank so that at night it's nice and full and helps us fall asleep well. So ways we do that is waking up, having consistent wake ups in the morning, moving our body, getting a lot of movement throughout the day, and not stealing from that tank by taking that nap. So you're going to slowly fill up your tank and then you take that nap and it depletes the tank again, right? So those are the individuals I would say avoid napping. If you're going to take a nap, there's a right or wrong way to do it. And this is probably what you and your girlfriend or wife do is that when I was explaining the cycles of sleep, it's that 90 to 110 minute cycle. The best time, and actually NASA did a study on this that deemed that the perfect nap is at 21 minutes, because in that 21 minutes, you're not allowing yourself to get into that deeper state of sleep. So you can wake up still in a lighter state of sleep, still feeling refreshed, feeling re-energized, creative, and all of those great things. Whereas if you're waking up after 30 or 60 minutes, you're in that deeper state of sleep and you're waking up in what's called like sleep inertia. Think of it like a sleep hangover where you're feeling groggy and foggy. So to time the perfect nap, you want to aim for about 15 to 20 minutes or a full 90 minutes. So it's a full cycle of sleep. Avoid waking up after 30 or 60 minutes.
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool. That's good
I
information.
think it's gotta be hard to time yourself. You're like, okay,
Well,
21
that's
minutes.
the hardest part is being like, because you lay
Well,
down,
set
and
an
you're like,
alarm. You
yeah,
can set an alarm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard gauging. Like, okay, I'm putting my head on the pillow. What is the point that I'm gonna finally fall
Yeah.
asleep? And how do I
Fall
make sure
asleep.
the timer starts then? you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, that part can be a little difficult for sure.
Yeah. Teach your ring to do that. Like, tell when you're asleep.
So I know we talked a little bit about the different reasons that people might have trouble falling asleep, but are there any tips for people who maybe aren't suffering from like a chronic like sleep disorder? Like what are some tips, I guess, in general for people falling asleep? I know we talked about sleep hygiene. We talked about maybe like the cool temperature. Are there any other ones to throw in there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say two would be, focusing on a great bedtime routine. I always say, we like to talk about like a power down hour before you go to bed and breaking up that hour in 20-minute increments. So for the first 20 minutes, you're preparing for the next day. And this is going to help you kind of quiet your mind. That's a huge, probably sleep buster that a lot of people have is the minute you lie down, your brain just kind of explodes with every thought and worry and concern. So, how best can you prepare yourself and kind of remove maybe that to-do list? So things like packing your lunch, packing your bag, choosing your outfit for the next day, writing out just simple pen to paper, writing out that to-do list so it's not swimming in your head before you go to bed. The next 20 minutes is just hygiene. So brushing your teeth, washing your face, skincare, all that fun stuff, right? Focusing on you. And then the last 20 minutes is, any kind of calming, relaxing activity that works for you. So some it might be meditation, some it might be mindful breathing. For others, it could just be reading, like reading a couple pages in their book, before you go to bed. So focusing on a really great bedtime routine. The other tip that I want to leave people with is just really focusing on that stress management. And, I mentioned a little bit about quieting the mind. again, what we do throughout the day really helps us sleep well at night. And there's I call it a personal pause, and there's two ways that you can do it. One is throughout the day, give yourself time to have kind of a mindful hush. So whether it be focusing on mindful breathing, meditation, just being more present in mind, you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. Maybe 2 or 3 times a day for a minute or two, go into your cubicle, in your car, in a quiet room, going for a walk, like wherever, just be more present. What do go through your 5 senses? What do you see? What do you, I'm not going to go through them all because I'm going to forget. What do you hear? What do you taste? Like all the things, right? The other way of doing it, the way I do it, is allow yourself time throughout the day. I'm going to say to stress the fuck out, okay? Because listen,
Yes.
we stress. I'm not going to tell you don't have stresses, don't have anxieties, don't have worries. Like we're human, right? But work them out throughout the day so that at night, when all the distractions are gone, that's when all those things kind of flood in our head. So constructively worry. So give yourself a piece of paper, 2 columns. First column, you're writing out the problem, right? The next column, what are some solutions that will help solve that problem? You don't have to solve that problem in that moment, but what are steps that you can do to help you solve that problem? It could be, schedule an appointment, make sure you call this person, or whatever you need to do. Fold that piece of paper away and put it away for the next day, so that now when you're in bed and that problem comes into your head, and it's going to, because we're human, you can say to yourself, you know what, I worked on it today, I'm going to work on it again tomorrow, I don't need to work on it now, and you can go to bed. So allow yourself to stress out, but work through that stress, let it flow out, so that you're not busy trying to let it flow out at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're not going to do it then.
I love what you said about like just kind of getting your stuff ready for the next day, because I can tell you, like, getting my gym stuff set up, like what I'm gonna wear the next day, like that routine, doing that at night does provide like so much calmness. Like I know I'm not gonna be waking up frazzled, like, oh, where are my gym shoes? I can't find them,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So I completely get where you're going with that. Have you experienced like any like mindful or like calm apps? I've seen like a couple of them floating around. Do you have any that you found beneficial, or do you kind of just throw your own personal spin on it?
Yeah, I mean, great ones obviously are the Calm app. That's a great one. Headspace has a good one. There's Insight and Breathe. Like there's so many now, but I would like, my go-to is Calm. I think it's just so well done. But there's a lot of really great ones. Yeah.
Cool. Dig it.
Yeah, I know my friend recommended Headspace. He likes that one, but I've
Yeah,
never checked
that's
it
a good
out
one.
yet. So obviously on this podcast, I think it's obvious we like to drink beer. I know the effects of alcohol might not be the best on your sleep. Can we kind of talk about the people that maybe drink a few beers before falling asleep, and maybe some people who become dependent on it? Maybe they can't sleep without the beer.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with alcohol is, yes, it could help you fall asleep better, but as the alcohol leaves your body, it's going to cause more fragmented sleep. So, for all the parents who are listening, because I'm one and I remember those days where you finally have a night where the kids are at the grandparents, so you decide to go, go out with your friends, have a couple drinks, you're going to get the best night of your sleep. You don't have to wake up early the next day. And it's like the worst night of sleep ever, because again, your body is busy trying to detoxify and get the alcohol out and not busy on sleeping well. So again, I don't want to tell people to not have a beer with dinner or a glass of wine with dinner, but if you're really using it as a sleep crutch, it's probably doing you more harm than good, for sure.
So, I mean, we live in California. A lot of people smoke weed as well. And I know some people can't sleep without that joint before falling asleep. I mean, what is your
Have you had any experience with that on that side as well?
So, I mean, I can't say a yay or nay to that. A lot of people are, there's a lot of talk and studies being done with CBD and stuff. And yes, there are studies that are being done where it can help with anxiety and stress, which of course, in turn, then helps you sleep better. There's not enough studies being done on does it actually help you sleep better. But I will say, if you are choosing to have either, a beer or a joint, I'd say go with the joint over the beer to help you sleep better. There's no harm in that.
Gotcha.
The toxins aren't coming out while sleeping, so it's nice.
Yeah, your body's not trying to like get things out of your system, or yeah. So I guess that makes sense.
But I guess overall, we shouldn't become dependent on anything to help us sleep. We should be able to do natural.
100%. Yeah. And listen, at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor. So I always say it's always best to talk to your doctor for any kind of medical advice, or any kind of medical need to help you sleep better.
Gotcha.
I like that.
Cool. Well, I guess I know we talked about so many tips. Do you have any other tools that you might be able to recommend to someone. I just got the Aura ring, which I'm like super excited about. I don't know. Do you have one? Have you used one? Do you feel like it helps people out?
So I don't have the Aura ring. I know it's popular though. I do have an Apple Watch. Sleep trackers, in terms of sleep trackers, I think that they've come a long way. I don't feel like they're there yet to give us the proper information on whether we're sleeping or not. The best way to really be studied if you're sleeping well is to have an actual sleep study done, like an actual EEG, and they're testing your brain waves. So we're not there yet. And I think that with some sleep trackers, there's good and bad. The good is that I love that it's really making people focus on their sleep health, which I think is really important. But the bad of it is that we also don't want to hyper focus on our sleep health. Because here's the thing, like, we sleep. Sleep shouldn't be so hard, right? We shouldn't have to work so hard to sleep well. And sometimes when we're so stressed out about not sleeping well, that doesn't allow us to sleep well. So, take the information that you're getting from the trackers, I always say, with a grain of salt, and try not to hyper focus on. It's okay to have a bad night of sleep. It's not okay to have years of bad nights of sleep, but it's okay to have a bad night of sleep. Like, don't be so hard on yourself if you do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, if you're putting so much pressure on falling asleep, like I know for me, when I'm so focused on falling asleep is when I have the hardest time falling asleep. So I imagine sometimes like sleep trackers could do that for people. So I get that.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. I think I got maybe just one more question that like Jake and I used to work at a job where we'd work late or we'd work early. Like some shifts were 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., other shifts were 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. What do you give some advice for? So maybe people that don't have a set schedule for working and they kind of have that.
Yeah. The
They're going to
inconsistent
bed
Shift
late,
work.
waking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the shift work community is definitely a growing community, especially in the world. Well, I shouldn't say especially in the world of entrepreneurs. I mean, with everything, with the healthcare and all of that, we see it. And, we all have a 24-hour biological clock. That clock doesn't shift. It just stays the same, right? So that's why with shift workers, it's difficult because they're likely sleeping against their natural body clock. I say get those 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but if you're getting those 7 to 8 hours of sleep in the middle of the day, you're still probably not getting the best restorative sleep. But what can you do? It's what you have to do. So, really focusing, when I speak to the shift work community, the two tips kind of I really try and leave with them is really focus on your sleep, like protect it. Whether you're sleeping against your clock or not, sleep when you can sleep and sleep as much as you can normally, right? So really protect your sleep as best you can in terms of environment, in terms of everything, darkening up the rooms and all of those things. The other tip that I always leave shift workers with is it can be a really lonely experience because a lot of people are sleeping or awake. Actually, I should say awake when the rest of the world is sleeping. And those that don't work those kind of hours can't understand how hard it is. So make sure that you're supported with people who are going through the same thing, where you guys can share tips and share advice on what's working for you, and have conversations with those around you, with families, with friends, that listen, I have to protect my sleep. I can't go out at night, or I can't have dinner with you, or you have to be quiet when I'm home and trying to sleep, and making sure that you're having those open conversations. Because regardless of when you're sleeping, whether it's against your clock or not, you really want to protect that sleep when you can, because it's still important.
Yeah. That's a great answer.
Yeah, I think so too.
Dig it. Well, I have learned so much today already. I mean, this paper is covered in notes and questions. So Alanna, thank you so much for all this. I think that kind of brings us to our lightning round. If you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. All right, Alex, start us off.
All right. What's your favorite beer or beverage?
I'm a wine girl. I'm not a beer drinker, guys.
Yeah,
No,
Sorry.
no worries. Hey, it's all good.
we
All
live in
good.
wine country, so we're used to that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, what type of wine? I mean, what's your go-to?
Oh,
Red,
what type
white,
of wine? Oh my
rosé.
God, right off the bat, you're gonna ask me that. What type? Like, I'm a Pinot girl. I'm really easy. Like, yeah.
I dig it. Cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book. Oh my gosh, what have I read lately? I just read. I like a good fiction. So I just read The Apothecary, which is amazing. Any Colleen Hoover. I try and stay away from the business and the self-help books. Like, that just gets my mind. I'm just pure. Just give me fluff. I'm good.
I like fiction too. I want to escape once in a while.
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite place you visited or place you want to visit next?
Favorite place I've visited. I remember I did a tour in Europe, loved Switzerland, loved Italy, loved France, loved Spain. Would love to go back to all those places. In the States, I'm trying to think. In the States, we had an amazing trip. We went to Martha's Vineyard, had an amazing trip. I'm a Disney girl. Like, I want to go to Disney without my kids and just fully enjoy Disney.
Disneyland or Disney
Yeah,
World?
which is the Florida one? Is that
Disney World?
Yeah.
Disney World. Yeah, Disney World. I did go to LA for work right before the pandemic. Well, in 2019, I've been to LA a few times for work and love it. But I'm a pop culture obsessed person. So like we did the Warner Brothers studio. Like, yeah, we did all of that. It was for work, but I made sure we fit all that in, which was fun. And I'd like to actually take the kids so that they could experience it because they also share my pop culture love. So yeah,
I love the Warner Bros. Studio tour. It's
so
a really
fun.
good show. Yeah, I've done it a couple times. So
fun. Yeah.
Well, now that I know you like pop culture, I'm bummed I didn't get a Degrassi reference once because you're from Canada in this whole show. So.
That's funny. That would be aging myself, and I'm like the original Degrassi watcher,
Junior
like
high.
not the. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
I love it. All right. So I guess our last question, kind of a loaded one here. What does retirement look like / mean to you?
Oh gosh, retirement. I don't know. It just means I just want peace and I want to be around my kids and their kids and that's it right now. That's all I can think. I can't forward think more than that because I feel like I'll always be working. I can't imagine not working, to be quite honest.
Totally. And it
I
sounds
guess that
like,
will.
yeah, no, you found something that I'm sure you're going to want to do for forever, at least in some, maybe in a smaller capacity, but when you've found something that truly brings you value and you get to do and it produces income, I mean, why not,
Yeah, for sure.
Dig it.
Alanna, what I really enjoyed about this episode was we often get people they're into real estate, they're into just these side businesses or whatever. What I liked about you is everybody can learn something from sleep. I think everybody can improve their sleep. Everyone can get better. And this is such a good episode because I think no matter who listens to it, they're going to take something from it. And I really appreciate it.
Amazing. I hope so. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and we've added it's cool that you were able to bring a subject about sleep, but also bring the entrepreneurship side of creating your own business too. So I agree. Very, very cool episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, where can people find you? You're in the social media world and all that stuff. What are you doing?
I am. So you can find us on our website, goodnightsleepsite.com. Night is NIGHT. Site is like website, SITE. I am on Instagram, GN Sleep Site. I am very new to TikTok because I am too old for TikTok, but I'm trying, you guys, desperately. And I'm Alanna.McGinn on TikTok. And I'm everywhere. Facebook, Good Night Sleep Site, podcast, This Girl Loves Sleep. Yeah.
Perfect.
I dig it.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Cool.
I want to check out your podcast now. That sounds like a good treat.
Most of it's baby and kid, but there's some adult stuff thrown in there. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm sure in a couple, I don't know.
You guys will get there.
Somewhere around a year from now, I will be binging your podcast for sure. So
Amazing.
Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story and your tips, and hope you have an awesome night. Thanks again.
You as well.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All righty, Alec. What did you think of our friend Alanna?
I think Alanna is the first person to ever come on the podcast where every single entrepreneur out there can learn something. I don't think anybody gets the sleep they want. I think we all have our issues where we stay up at night, we think about our issues, we maybe drink a beer before going to bed. And the fact that she's kind of targeted every one of these issues in different individuals. And she has a set game plan, whether it's writing down stuff before you go to bed, the things you're stressing about, or not having that beer at dinner and eating 4 hours before you fall asleep. I mean, it's just so much goes into sleep that I think people don't realize.
Yeah, totally. Sleep is one of those things that just gets put on the back burner. It's it's just like a task that I have to do. I'll get around to it. At some point, I'll fall asleep and who knows, get, maybe a couple hours and then get back and go after it. And it's not the best way to live, I can't tell you enough. The nights where I have a good night's sleep, have the routine, everything, get the proper amount of hours, the different cycles, all that kind of stuff. I wake up the next day just feeling so much better. I'm so much of a better husband, a better friend, a better manager, better to my employees. It really does just set the stage for a great day, you know. And I was just scribbling so many notes and so many different questions like throughout the interview, because I don't think every entrepreneur can learn from this. I think every single person can learn from this,
Absolutely.
you know. And whether you're a new parent, whether you're someone who's just struggling with sleep, whether again you have a schedule that's kind of off the wall and all over the place, like these are all things that anyone can apply in their life to get a better night's sleep, and in turn, turn that to having a better life. You know, we spend half of our life, not half of our life, probably what, a third of our life in bed, and
Third, yeah.
it's important to make sure that that time's not being wasted. You know, I think the quality of the sleep that you're having, if you're going to spend no matter what, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours in bed, you might as well try to make sure that that 6, 7, 8 hours that you're spending is quality sleep, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it's like, imagine it's a cell phone when it gets down to that 20% battery and it says, want to run on low battery mode? And you go, okay, but your phone's running slower. That's us when we don't get enough sleep.
yeah, that's a great analogy, dude. I
Yeah.
agree. So really excited to share this episode. I'm like fired up right now and want to go take a nap.
I
Just joking.
did not want that interview to end. It was awesome.
Yeah, agreed. So once again, thanks to everyone for listening to the Brewbucks podcast. Let's make like a ball and bounce, huh?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Once again, have a great day. Later.